Hey internets, it's Rev. In this episode, IndieCade. IndieCade. Oh, and we talk a little bit about IndieCade. Get your gas masks and batons ready. It's episode 24 of Indie Game Riot, the IndieCade recap.
Indie Game Riot! Hey everybody, this is Josh and Yacht, and this is episode 24 of the Indie Game Riot and IndieCade, right? Am I right? IndieCade.
Oh, it was so amazing.
How IndieCade was IndieCade?
It was very IndieCade.
That's IndieCade.
Like you start off with IndieCade, and then we went into the IndieCade tent, and there was IndieCade, and then there was the IndieCade village, and then there was the IndieCade fire station, and then there was the IndieCade courthouse, and then there was the IndieCade theater, and then there was the...
Did it try to like switch stuff up and then just like left hook you with some IndieCade?
Yeah, like from the get-go.
And then you went home and IndieCaded all over the place?
Exactly. Like,
right.
My living room's still covered in IndieCade. Like, you might think I'm joking, and that was euphemistic, but I'm literally not joking about this. I've got business cards and flyers and pamphlets and my notes and this cool IndieCade bracelet that I got.
Are we gonna have to, like, hire a media, like a communications guy just to deal with, like, emails and stuff? Like, that's what this is turning into. It's like, Josh is like, man, I'm getting a lot more emails than recently. This is kind of hard to keep up, and Rev's just like, I have, like, 1,000.
That'd be amazing, actually.
I have a stack of business cards that is like 1.5 inches deep.
I can't,
and that's not counting everything else that I ended up with.
I can't wait. I have gotten some contact from you guys, but I can't wait for more. And I'm hoping that you're reaching out to. I'm sure you are reaching out to them.
I will be.
Yeah.
I haven't had time.
Well,
if you want to like divide and conquer this, just send us like Josh and I emails of emails. Oh no, but you know like what they did and stuff. So
yeah.
Well, before we indicate about IndieCade, I think we should indicate about ourselves, just a little bit. What's been going on with you, Tech?
My beard is smaller.
So you shaved?
I didn't shave it all off. It's very much still there.
You're a disappointment to mountain men everywhere.
No, it is still. It went from being Tech of the forest and went to being Tech of the estate from the south.
I do declare.
So if anybody has seen my face on the IndieGoGo video that I made for the IndieGoGo campaign currently going on, link in the description.
Who didn't run away?
I have a very large, scraggly, unkempt beard, and over a year after I haven't touched it, I had a job interview, and so I'm like, job interview. This is going to make things tricky, and I really want to keep this beard because the beard stays, because I am not in desperate need of a job, even though I am in kind of need for a job. And so I trimmed all the sides are trimmed, and it goes into a nice little point, and my mustache, thankfully my girlfriend is very happy.
Please tell me you use mustache wax.
I don't, but I trimmed it to my lips, so it's not like...
I want to see like the established, like the very sophisticated beard, and then like a handlebar mustache, like a tiny one.
I just need to get some wax. That's like it's probably coming for Christmas.
There we go. That's what. Okay, take a picture. We'll put it on our brand new site that hopefully will pop up.
I'll send you guys pictures.
So one of the things I'm really interested to know when you shaved it. Did you shave it before or after IndieCade?
When did IndieCade end? Because I shaved it
Sunday.
About IndieCade.
Sunday. I definitely did it before Sunday.
Okay, because in that case, it definitely wasn't you. Oh, okay. In that case, it might have been you I saw at IndieCade, because there was this guy wandering around that I was like, is that Tech? I thought, why the fuck would Tech be here?
It's actually really funny. I had a friend of mine who went to Germany for a trip, and she told me that, like, on multiple occasions on the TV, she had to stop and look and then look away and look back like text on TV.
I think beards are beards. Like I think Germany is now finally catching up to beards.
Yeah, they're a few like a year or two behind America
as far as like.
Well, they also had such facial hair in general for them. Like, did you see World War II? Like, they had a really hard time with mustaches.
They're like I think. Excuse me, Adolf. You might have a little like shit on your lip.
On your face, yeah. And then question 2, Tech. How did your movie premiere go?
We didn't win anything.
Oh, sorry.
Now I don't want to be. I don't think a lot of people who listen to this like really care, so I'm just going to bring this up. Everyone was really confused at the judging.
Nobody gives a shit. Wait, no.
There were a lot of like really weird decisions in the nominations and judging. So the film that won Best Student didn't get nominated for anything else, but the film that lost Best Student, that was nominated for Best Student, got nominated for other things and also won another. Which was confusing because if the other student film didn't get like nominated for anything else, why did it beat the other one and the other one still win an award?
It's like the best movie, and then they win nothing else, even though they're the best movie, and you'd think they'd win like something that
or it's like
that went into them winning the best movie.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like the scorecards were really weird because having done this for a relatively long time. We have a sister team / rival team when competitions come around called Stepdad Productions, and they made a phenomenal video this year that didn't even get like sent to the second day, which confused us.
Did you get sent to the second day?
We did. We got into the finals.
Oh, that's cool.
And they got voted into to be shown in the finals too because it was a really good film. And so they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys got this," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because all the other amateur films, weren't that awesome, and yet one that wasn't quite as awesome as ours but had better writing won." So the judges were doing something weird, and there were a lot of teams that thought it, even ones that like won awards and got nominated. They're like, this is kind of weird, but overall I had a fun time. So
I guess it's all about the experience anyway, even though someone's giving the judges blowies or something.
Yeah, something like that. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's let Rev go last.
How much IndieCade have you been interested in? No, Rev talk about his crap in the next segment.
Yeah, no, I'm jealous. I lead a boring life. I feel like every time I come in here, like I don't know. I guess my anecdote. The show, for those of you who are listening to the recorded version, is late tonight because of me and because we had like a king's meal at a peasant's price, basically. I had to help cook and eat it, of course, and it was crab. It was like Maryland blue crab.
Oh yeah,
and shrimp.
Second best crab in the world.
Old Bay, everything like that. So my daughter, 2 years old, doesn't really. She doesn't. She's never really like
experienced shellfish before.
Well, no, she's had she doesn't like it, but we've eaten it before. But she doesn't. She's never really connected the fact that where meat comes from. Yeah. So she learned a harsh lesson in the circle of life today when she saw the crabs sitting there on the plate with their faces and eyes looking at her. She was like, we put the crabs down on the table. She's like, ah, and then I'm like, what? I pick up a crab and I tear off one of its legs. She's like, ah, and I'm like, well, really? And I break the crab leg in half and I eat a piece of meat out of it, stick it in my mouth. She's like, oh!
It's so adorably horrible.
So I'm pretty sure
she's gonna have nightmares tonight.
I'm pretty sure she's traumatized.
Crab is one of those foods where you really start to think about your place in life, especially if you ever go to one of those all you can eat crab buffets where you're going back for more and it's just digging into 30 crabs and you're like, oh god. Yeah, this thing was killed so I could tear it up and throw half of it away.
Yeah. But I guess that's my amusing anecdote. Yeah. Rev, how about you? Just kidding, Indie News Injection.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an Indie News Injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
And this week on the IndieCade recap of Indie Game Riot, we're going to be talking about IndieCade. Did you get that? IndieCade.
Holy IndieCade.
Yet we aren't.
No, I'm not. So, okay, for those of you that kind of missed it, IndieCade was awesome. In addition, it's the I believe it's the largest independent games development convention
Festival.
thing in the U.S. or world.
That's what they claim.
I'm going to say world just because
Probably.
I talked to a lot of developers that are from outside of the U.S. and they were all like, yeah, our independent get-togethers are tiny.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of like Australian and British people there, right?
There were a lot of Europeans, a couple of New Zealanders, some Australians. We had some people from Mexico and Brazil and Venezuela and Puerto Rico and Costa Rica, and had a couple of Germans.
Woo!
Had a couple of Russians. We had, who else did I talk to? Yeah, there were a lot of people there. There were a lot. So,
And you talked to every single one.
As many of them as I could. So, okay, IndieCade started off really shitty for me. I woke up bright and early Friday morning. I called in sick, so if my boss is listening to this, I actually had IndieCade fever. That's a diagnosable condition. I've got a doctor's note to prove it. So I woke up early and I'm like, yeah, I'm all jazzed for this. I'm going to go jump in my car and drive my happy ass up to Culver City and go to IndieCade, and it's going to be awesome. And I walk out there and the rear tire on my vehicle was completely flat.
Oh my
Like,
god.
How? Like, would someone slash it?
No, nobody we found out on Monday after we managed to get the tire off that when we were going out to pick up business cards, which we have, we kind of ran over a giant screw and it just destroyed it.
That's what
So-
happened to my tire once. It was awful.
Yeah, I had 250 brand new Indie Game Riot business cards that I was all gung-ho about, and no way to get to IndieCade.
Actually, I saw that on Twitter, and I was gonna tweet at you like, "How's it going, Rev?" Because I was all excited, and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh," you like the anxiety that washed over me. I was like, "Oh my god, we're missing so much."
Yeah, and apparently Friday was the day to go if you really are not a big fan of crowds, such as myself, and had a lot of personal time because there was almost nobody there because everybody was at work. So missing that entire day, I was like, oh, I was so emo, anxious, depressed. Like I played Brutal Legend all day. And
Speaking of Brutal Legend, by the way, I know this has nothing to do with IndieCade, but I think it's cool. Congratulations, IndieBox, friends, for hooking up with Double Fine and actually EA technically, which is kind of weird talking about indie games, for the Brutal Legend Special Edition. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I was there, was like, and one of my neighbors comes over and is like, hey, how was it today? I was like, I'm sorry, rephrase, rewind, go back to reality. That was how it played out in my head. What actually happened was she came over and was like, hey, I saw your post on Facebook that your tire was flat and you couldn't make it. We're not using our second car this weekend. You can borrow it if you'd like to. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So borrowed their car and drove my happy ass up Saturday. And there was this huge line out of the check-in tent, the registration tent, and I'm standing in line going, dear God in heaven, I just want to get my press pass and go check out games because this will be awesome. And then they were like, one of the volunteers walking by was like, hey, where's press check-in? And they're like, this little table over here where there's no line whatsoever. I was like, ha, 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 suckers. So yeah, that started my thing at IndieCade. Also,
At least it got much better. I mean, considering
its start, yeah.
I
mean, getting kicked in the balls was better than its start, but So where to begin? They had it set up in. It's kind of an interesting way. They had this giant parking lot that was the main IndieCade village. That's where all the tents were. That's where a lot of the demonstrations and things like that were.
The majority of it's outdoors?
Yeah, like pretty much the entire thing except for panels was outdoors. They had it in tents and things like that. A couple of people had like mobile home trailer type things. But that was primarily the Oculus guys. That was cool too. So it's this giant parking lot, and there are tents and people everywhere and paths, and like, oh my god, what do I look at first? So kind of walked around to get an idea as to the layout of things. The things that were nominated for awards, their digital selects and their nominees, were all in a firehouse, a half a block away. So that was indoors, and you could walk in and play all the various games. And then the panels were split between a theater that was a half a block the other direction and the city courthouse, which was, a half a block further on past the firehouse. So it was a kind of an interesting layout. I didn't mind it so much, except I think they could have done better with keeping the panels closer to the village, but space issues, like they had what they had, so yeah. I'll give them credit on that. The one of the things that really that surprised me was the sheer amount of board games that was present.
Really?
Yeah, I've got cards for like 6 or 7 of them. There were 2 that really, really stuck out. One because we played it, and one because it looked so fucking complicated, but is really simple once you try it out. The first one that I played was a game called Luca, and it's basically a disc. And you roll your dice, and you get to move your piece around this disc, and whichever spot, it's viewpoints. And the whole purpose is you're trying to build up your buildings as close to the center of the city as possible, so that you can get as many viewpoints. And it was based actually on the physical architecture and choices made by the architects in the town of Lucca. I believe it was Spain. It might have been Italy.
So it's like urbanization of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. And so like the development that happened there was all of the rich people, they would build out their buildings, and somebody would build a building in front of them, so they would build their building taller, and then the next person would, and like it just became this race to who could get the tallest building.
That's kind of like what happens in Hawaii, like in Honolulu.
Uh-huh.
All the tallest buildings right on beachfront, and then everything just gets crowded in there.
So yeah, it was fun. It was a relatively simplistic game, not a lot of complication. Although figuring out who had how many points was definitely a tad interesting, because that was a little bit confusing. But it was a fun game. And then there was Antimatter Matters, and by Leapfrog Games, I believe.
Leapfrog, like the same Leapfrog that makes like the children games?
No.
Okay.
Different type. Or was it? No, sorry, it wasn't Leapfrog. It was Elbowfish.
Okay. easy mistake.
I was wondering about that.
I'm looking down at another business card for technology that I'm going to talk about later, and it's Leap, and I knew there was an animal in the name.
Elbow,
Elbow, Leap, fish, frog, whatever. Yeah, Elbowfish Games.
Same species, right?
Yeah. I don't biology at all.
Anyway. I'm kidding.
So it was a really interesting game to look at. It looks super awkwardly difficult, but once you start playing it, things just click and it fits together, and everything is any card that you draw tells you exactly what you can do. And if you happen to have something else, it tells you right then and there, these are the only things that can counter this, or this is the only thing that boosts it, things of that nature. So there's no diving through rule books to try and figure out what the fuck's going on.
Did it teach you anything?
I'm sorry?
Did it teach you anything?
I did not actually get to play. I just watched somebody else play,
so,
and I learned.
So there's no antimatter learning.
Well, I when you were talking about this after IndieCade, I checked it out, and it looked like, I think that, like, especially considering that the small team that actually made it is so passionate about making the background and the science behind it, as well as making a fun game out of it, is awesome. And like what they came up with is both really visually appealing and looks like it'd be a really fun game to play with other people.
Yeah. No, it looked like an awesome game. The people that were playing it were actually having a lot of fun in comparison to some other games that I could mention.
While we're on the topic of board games, one game that wasn't at IndieCade that I'm going to bring up that I finally got the shipment of which is under the realm of indie game board games, is Xia Legends of a Drift system. There's a lot of stuff out there for it. There was a really big Kickstarter for it, but I finally got it. I actually went to a local game store and played it with a few people, and it's cool that it's it's relatively complicated. There's a lot of things that you can do in the game, and the turn structure is a little bit weird, but having people pick it up and play it, and getting my hands on the actual minis and all the cards again after I showed it off at another con this summer was really cool. And I think that they should be at IndieCade next year, as well as a lot of other conventions, because, yeah.
So if they're listening,
yeah,
go to IndieCade, or they can go to IndieCade East February.
He's outside of Washington State, so.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, he should still go to IndieCade East.
Yeah, he should. I mean, the game was a huge hit. It hasn't even been released yet, and it's a huge hit.
Speaking of IndieCade East, they announced that they have the overall theme for this year, or next year, I guess. The themes that they're going for: second wave, as in the original guys that really got indie games going are now the established guy. They're the Double Fines and the Behemoth, exactly. And now we have this
kind Meat Boy Team, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and now we have this second wave, the new gen of indie games. They're also talking. The secondary one is diversity, and the third one is storytelling.
So where do these themes fit into it?
That's up to you.
so, because I mean, they're like, here's a theme, but any game, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, no, it's not really the thematic aspect to it is more. These are the things that we are trying to discuss and talk about, and yeah. Well, not just panels, but I mean. This year's
station
was it with the one that you went to? Was that like diversity?
The one that I went to was Hearts, I believe.
Well, I mean, like as far as the theme goes,
I believe it was Hearts.
Oh, okay.
Hearts and Love, or something along those lines. I don't recall the exact one. So yeah, board games, those were cool. The next section that I wanted to talk about was just some of the various nominated games and other games that we talked about, or that I saw. And I'm leaving off of that list the ones that we're going to feature, but there's a couple on here that I know we're going to be featuring in the near future. So take it with a grain of salt, and if you want more details, feel free to ask. So the first up was Choice Chamber. This game was, we kind of mentioned it in passing. When we remember back when we were talking about Twitch TV funding games that interacted with Twitch API.
Now I remember.
Yeah. Choice Chamber was that game.
Right.
So, downside to this, I asked the developer, because I had about 15 minutes to sit down and play the game and talk to him, and he had the rest of his team on the stream so that we could get the full experience, which was kind of cool. And I asked him specifically if he was going to be bringing it to Hitbox, and he's like, that is the number one question that I get, and the answer is, I can't. And I was like, well, why not? He's like, well, because A, Twitch kind of helped pay for the game, and B, Twitch kind of helped pay for the game, and
they're obligated to.
So yeah,
Twitch.
he doesn't want to cause any problems there. But even with that in place, it's still a fun game. Like it's pretty straightforward. It's you can just move, jump, attack, and that's pretty much it. But the way that integrates with the Twitch API, the streamers can make comments and change what's happening in the game.
Much like Twitch plays Pokemon.
Kind of, except they don't change. They don't change what you're doing per se, They
they're
changed the environmental aspects.
Right. So they can screw you or help you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I started off as the character that's, just basic character, and I have a bow and I'm doing basic damage and I have one jump level, and that's cool. And I'm facing off against the default bad guys. And the art style for this, by the way, really cute. It was pretty adorable. And as we're going along, they're like, well, now it's time for you to face better enemies. So they give you now you're facing the upgraded version of the default guy. And then the guys on the stream decided they were going to really power me up, so they gave me pogo stick jumping, and they gave me a boomerang. And that was interesting because pogo stick jumping, you're just jumping, period. You don't ever stop unless you actually try to stop and then you hit jump and then you stop jumping. It blew my mind, and I did a couple of levels for a bit that way. And then they introduced a spike panel on the floor that raised and lowered only when you jumped.
Oh,
and I still had
douchey.
the pogo power.
And
Oh, God.
So it became a matter of trying to set things up in such a way that I would have the spike trap down when I needed to land there. And then they introduced new enemies, and it was amazing.
The fact that it's still possible to get past that just shows how well designed the game is. Even with all those variables from the streamers or the audience, I should say. It's still cool that you can, no matter what, get through the game.
Yeah.
If you're good enough.
And they also one of the other features that I thought was really interesting, as you're killing monsters, you collect coins, like most games. And at the end of each level segment, you get to go into a store, and there are 3 items that are chosen by the audience beforehand. Chosen, okay. Yeah. So there's 3 items that you can purchase, and that's chosen by the audience beforehand, and they can then they can determine whether or not those items will be unlocked for you. So I get in there and I have a health upgrade, or I have a speed attack upgrade, and something else, and they were like, yeah, we'll give him the health upgrade and that's it. So They can really, it's a lot of fun. The next game is and Choice Chamber. Hold on, let me dig out the card here.
Are you looking for the website?
Sure. One Mr. Bean was the developer.
Right.
Michael Molinari, really cool cat, and congrats to his team. They were a nominee for awards. The next game, I was really surprised didn't win anything, but we talked about in the last couple episodes. We've been talking about local multiplayer, right. And Elbow Room is nothing but local multiplayer. You have...
Elbow Room, I get it.
Wait until you hear the description. So, this game, you are sitting at a laptop or a computer, whatever. You've got your keyboard there. Each player chooses a key other than the Control, Alt, and Shift keys. And that is their button. And then the game starts, and you get this little radial dial thing that spins around to each button that has been selected. And when it's on yours, you hit your button. It's that simple. Okay? But you can reverse its path by double tapping and stuff like that. And every time you miss it, you lose a health point, and it just goes until there's only one person. But you're all crowded around this. I was testing it. We're standing at this keyboard, and there are 16 people with their hands on the keyboard.
And you can probably screw with each other, bump each other out of the way. Street rules, bitch.
Exactly.
A simplified computer version of the game Zoo. If you've ever heard that, where everyone has an animal and they have to say somebody else's animal, and
that's pretty much that.
I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of a similar game to Zoo. It's called Big Daddy.
Yep,
but it's the same thing. You've played that? Yeah,
just different names, basically.
Yeah, right.
That sounds fun.
So a cool shout out to Deep Dark Hole. They're still in development. It's not out yet. But as soon as it is, it's going to be getting a feature on this show, I'm sure. So Andre Marks, Will Stahl, and Dane Saint of Deep Dark Hole Games. Awesome thing. The next one was a game called Gemini, and it was kind of an ethereal game. You're two stars chasing each other through existence, and it was more. I want to say it was more graphical poetry than anything.
So deep.
No, it really was. And the game itself, like it was a simple controller. You know, there was no combat, there was no super major puzzles. It was just kind of an experience that was relaxing. And given the size of the crowd that was there, I was grateful for that. And I'm trying to find the guy's card. Like I'm sitting here sifting through cards as I'm like, no,
come on, man, prepared. Should have had them all like laid out.
It's gonna
in
get
front of you.
easier as the list gets smaller because the pile is just gonna like slowly start to dwindle.
Hold on, I'm nearing it. I know I'm nearing it. That's correct. No, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Did I drop it?
So this is a 2-player game?
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
There was an element of cooperation between it. You know, your gas trail could help them. Sort of just laughing at me.
I was gonna say my gas trail doesn't help anyone.
No, you could. There were some obstacles, but it wasn't puzzly obstacles really. It was just, can you get there? And Kevin Chen, I believe, Atlas Chen. That was who I met. He flew out from, I want to say it was Japan, to present his game there. So really, really cool game experience. So awesome.
Thank you, Japan, for not bringing something that will scar Red for life.
Yeah.
No, you want to know a game that scarred me for life? It was moving on.
Good segue.
Good segue. How do you do it? That's the one that scarred me for life. It's a game about a little girl trying to understand sex, and her only resource is Barbie dolls.
No,
it was so okay. The animation is.
I gotta wipe myself off.
Like the animation on it itself was awkward. It was very cartoony, and it looks like. So like families would come walking through, they'd come walking past, and like the moms would be like, "Oh, this is cute, a little girl in Barbie dolls. You should try this out." So the little daughter's sitting there, and then all of a sudden, like this animated girl is like jamming two Barbies together. And the mom would like cover up the eyes of the child and be like, "No, we're going."
No, that's awesome though. That's great. That game's gonna happen where it's like in the future, it's like, no, not the talk. Just go play this game. Here you go. Here's a down. Yeah, I was gonna say disc, and I was like, no one plays in discs.
Nobody uses discs anymore. So yeah, that one scarred me for life. Next up was I don't have his card, or if I no, he didn't have his card. But it was a game called Henka Twist Caper. And it uses the PlayStation Move wands, and it's multiplayer up to 8 people. And as I was playing this game, I realized that it would not work well for my group of local friends because we're all sword fighters. And the whole purpose of this game is you twist the controller and rotate it around and stuff like that until you find the sweet spot. And that.
So is this like a PS4 game or
PS3 and PS4? Yeah. Okay. But you know, you're standing in the viewable area for that device, and you know, just hold the controller and rotate it until you find its randomly generated sweet spot, and then your meter fills. And that is the mechanics of the game. The meta game is I can kick you in the ankles, or, you know, the developer was extremely ticklish, so, you know, he was winning and somebody like poked him in the ribs and he hit the ground laughing.
That's a great idea for a game.
Yeah, it was great. But
if you're not used to hitting each other with sticks.
Exactly. This is not going to end well for us. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I apologize. I don't remember who made Henka twist.
The ticklish guy at the
ticklish guy. Yeah. Hey, maybe I have it here.
It'd be Ori Gamnick Games.
Where's your administrative assistant?
I know, right?
She or he can
Origami Inc. Yeah, Origami Inc. Sean something or other. That's his name. Anyways, moving on.
Pierre?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
Sean Pierre made it.
You know this guy?
No, I'm on the website.
Oh.
Next game that was really cool, and they were a.
Oh, I know this one. I'm excited.
I know, right? Icebound. It's a really interesting concept. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's only iOS, but they're working on bringing that to Androids and Kindle, etc. Anything that basically has a camera capability.
This is a mobile game that I'd be absolutely on board with bringing it on the show.
Exactly. The quick rundown on the story is that you are an AI in the far future that has been brought into being to finish a book that was not finished by its author, who died in current times, right? And as you are going through this process, you begin this existential crisis. Am I the actual author, or am I...
Because time travel...
Well, no, you're an AI.
You're finally writing it. You're the one putting it down.
Right.
Exactly.
But you're supposed to be the exact, like, your brain essentially is supposed to be the exact same as the author's, right?
Right.
As far as creativity goes.
Exactly. And so the way this thing works, like, you've got he was showing us on an iPad, and it comes with an associated book, and they're doing a Kickstarter. Or they're about to, or they...
No, I think they are doing it still.
Okay. To publish the book that comes with it. And it's filled with pages, magazine cover here and letter to his daughter there. And as you're reading it, you get one view on, the kind of emotional theme and the mindset. And then you pass the Icebound program on your tablet or your phone over it, and it changes what is there. Like, it takes the image.
It's using what's it called? Augmented reality.
Yeah, it's using ARG. So, like, there's the Business Week Insider type business cover, magazine cover that's like, author's daughter, takes the business into new heights, and it's all celebratory, but you pass it over it and the text changes to daughter stabs author in back and betrays him. And so, like, as you're choosing how you're writing the ending to this book, you have to be able to justify it based on things that you discover from the book.
I think too, one of the things that I thought was really cool is that as you're sweeping, across the page, like you have to pick and choose what you augment.
Yeah,
I guess, because depending on what you augment, it could possibly change the story.
Yes.
It'll change whatever's like in the author's mind as you're looking at stuff. So you can't look at everything, or else it's gonna. If you're trying to end it a certain way, I'm assuming, you can't look at everything. You kind of have to pick and choose, and then you play it again because replayability.
Exactly, and it really is. It's a choose your own adventure. There is no, correct ending. You just have to be able to justify it through what you used. So moving on from that to another fun game,
and just also a heads up, possible interview with Icebound creators next month.
Right.
Ooh.
Keep a heads up on that.
N++. You might have heard of it. You might not have. I had heard of it before IndieCade, and I don't remember how or where. I think I saw a Kickstarter for them. But it's a cooperative race maze game. Really fun. Not a whole lot of replayability other than for the fun of playing it. Very simplistic graphics. It was pixelated stick figures. Bombs were asterisks and things of that nature, almost an ASCII, but a really quick iteration. It was a ton of fun. Probably played that for about 5 minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't meet the developers, nor did I get their business cards, because they're from Canada and they couldn't make it down due to some reason. And they were going to send business cards with their friend from San Francisco who was going to present it for them, and they forgot. So
it's MetaNet Software Incorporated.
Yeah, N++ spelled out .com or .org. I've got it written down somewhere.
It's .org.
.org, yep. So that was a really fun one. The most entertaining real-life game I have ever encountered. Watching this being played was hilariously awkward. Or more accurately, watching other people play it. Like, those people were hilariously awkward. It is the best lunch and dinner entertainment you can ever have. And that game is called Tumball. Think a cross between soccer and croquet, played in the real world, and it is played with actual tumbleweeds and leaf blowers.
Okay, I feel like
this is like a game made up in like by the
is this like
characters
an actual,
of Dumb and Dumber.
Game, or is it like
they came
like,
up with
get your shoes on?
No, it's an actual put your shoes on, go set up the hoops, the croquet places thingies, grab your leaf blowers and
So this is not a video game nor a board game. This is
this is what they were calling how did they phrase it? I'm looking for my schedule again. Big games.
Okay, gotcha. So it doesn't quite fit, tabletops, because it's very much a, get on your feet.
Yeah. The most entertaining thing I saw was this little 5'0" Asian lady and her boyfriend playing. And because it's a versus game, and each of you has a tumbleweed ball, they were bashing into groups of people because it's just played right there in the walkway. So moving right along.
Street rules, bitch.
Let's see. I'm not going to say that one because I can't say its name.
Anamnesis.
It was a Oculus Rift game that didn't just use the Oculus Rift. It was a keyboard and mouse as well as the Oculus, and you're going through an interesting concept. Not going to go into too many details. It's still more of a tech demo than anything else at this moment, but you're playing a FEMA agent that's investigating an outbreak, and
awesome.
The keyboard and mouse view is what you're currently, present day, and then you bring up the Oculus to your face, and it changes what is seen, and you have, the past and what was happening then.
Oh man!
So that was cool. I'm gonna skip that one. Nidhogg was amazing.
Glory to the Nidhogg.
Glory to the Nidhogg.
Glory to the everlasting king. Sorry.
I don't fully understand this game. I've never.
Like so basically, I haven't had a chance to talk.
Go for it.
So it's basically sort of a rapier dueling simulator / race.
Wait, what? Oh, rapier.
Yeah,
okay.
rapier. So you and somebody else are fighting, and you're trying to stab each other, and you're trying to get the other person down so you can pass them, push them to your direction of the screen, or kill them, exactly. And really get, keep going, keep moving, and then get to the end, and then glory to the Nidhogg.
Yep. It's a really fat thing. Graphically, think the original Prince of Persia.
Well, I was looking at it. And it reminded me a lot of Jousting. Do you remember that game?
Kinda, yeah.
It was like you rode on like ostriches and you like.
Kinda, yeah. It was kind of like that, but it was very fast paced. It was very, very awesome to watch. I didn't get a chance to play it because that was one of the games that only came out during night games, and me standing in a crowd of 150 people waiting to play this one single 2-player game was just ridiculous. So
it's a fun game. Check it out.
I wanted to ask you too about going back on the Oculus Rift because that's coming up next anyway. Was this your first experience with Oculus?
Yes, IndieCade.
How was it?
Was it good?
Well, let me talk about the next game, and I'll tell you. So, very first thing that I tested demoed was the Oculus Rift. The line wasn't too long, and fuck it, why not? So get in line. They make you fill out a waiver. You know, I agree that I'm over 13, I'm over 18, and I understand that I might, suffer epilepsy or get nauseous, whatever. Then they marched us into a trailer. You put on the headset and you put on the headphones, and then you're piloting a robot in space. This game is called Vanguard V, and absolutely amazing experience. You pilot this thing with head movements. So
sure it's not Vanguard 5, by the way?
No, it's actually Vanguard V. I asked.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, and I was like, wait, he was there. He probably wouldn't make that mistake.
I was just making sure.
So you're going back and like you can swoop from side to side by swooping your head and do a barrel roll. You do this like little woo thingy with your head. It was a lot of fun. Then they introduced combat, and it was amazing. And unfortunately, we only had like 5 minutes with it before they were like, next group. So awesome. I want an Oculus Rift. I think one of my next paychecks, I'm going to buy a DK2, Dev Kit 2.
I've heard that the DK2 is just not as good as what might be coming out.
Well, other than like the head tracking and also the fact that it's like 1080p now, it's not really anything different. Everyone's also really looking forward to Sony's thing.
Apparently,
I use Sony's thing, and it sucks.
Really?
I did not like the... Well, see, Sony's thing, unless I'm crossing that with another one, Sony's thing is done using a cell phone that gets released today. What? It's like the Note 7 or something like that.
No. Wait.
Am I thinking
No, it is Sony. Yeah, what Sony is doing is they're basically like, use the cell phone screen because cell phone technology will move. Wait.
Okay, so then yes, that is exactly the one that I use.
That might have been a different one. Was it...
The Note 7.
Did it have a camera on it?
Yeah.
It may have been a different VR system.
Okay.
But
whatever.
Anyway.
It's called I'm gonna find it. Go ahead, talk.
Okay.
Next game.
Next section. Okay, this one was not actually ill because I was waiting for the award ceremony to start Sunday evening, and my knee was kind of hurting. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to take a chair over and sit down. And he does student hackathons. He travels around the country to colleges and some high schools and does student jams basically. And then he was talking. He works primarily for Intel, and then in his spare time, in about 3 hours, using one of the tools that they've created for game development, created this game called UGOFAR, and it's the unnamed game of flipping and running. It's not published yet. He's thinking about releasing it. I'm trying to convince him to, but really, really kind of cool. You're just running and then you jump, and if you double jump, it changes the which platform is solid, and so that was a quick little mobile game that was a lot of fun. Another really awesome game, and it was not yet a game, it was more of an experience, was Moof, I believe is how it was pronounced.
Okay.
And it was played in a tent. Like, they set up a tent in this parking lot at night, and they laid down some padding inside of it, and then they laid down the controller, which was an entire blanket. So you lay down in this tent, and at the back of the tent is a projector that projects it up on the ceiling of the tent, and the blanket itself has pressure-sensitive wiring and stuff like that through it. So your movement becomes the movement of what's going on, and there's a couple of buttons, and ton of... I got 7 minutes in that. It was so cool. I want to try fucking on it at some point.
Oh my
just to see what happens.
God!
Now, before you move on, was it Samsung's Gear VR that you tried with the
Gear VR?
Because that one may have been
the one that integrates with the Note 4?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the one that I tried. The fidelity was not as good.
The one that I was talking about is Project Morpheus.
Okay, I haven't.
Project Morpheus is basically Oculus, but Sony's version, and it goes to the PS4.
Right.
So, huge, awesome experience with the tent game move. They did it as a student project just to see if they could. And they're looking to expand the experience, and they're going to be doing a Kickstarter. And and then the last major one that I wanted to talk about before we really move on, again, local multiplayer, but also online. Artemis Spaceship Bridge Simulator. They took, think Star Trek and all the positions on the bridge, and they broke that out, and everybody runs their own section. I was the engineer.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I have a story about this.
Okay.
So this game is very fun as long as you don't play with somebody who is a self-important asshole. Now, I have a friend of mine who is who's an ex-warrant officer of the U.S. Army.
Okay.
He was one of the youngest warrant officers ever to get that grade in.
So basically, he's got a big head.
He has a big head. He has he's a great guy, but he is a little bit too sure of himself. And he's like, "Oh yeah, Artemis Bridge Simulator. Let me be the captain and control you guys." And I'm just like, dude,
no.
What? Get over yourself. It is fun though.
That sounds fun.
It was a lot of fun. I was playing the engineer, and he's already modified it for touchscreen. So
awesome.
If your laptop does, it was like sitting at a Star Trek console basically. So I'm adjusting power levels and coolant and moving damage guys around.
We can play it in the SS Indie Game Riot.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of what's that one with blimp things?
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Zeppelin Wars or something.
Guns of Icarus.
Guns of Icarus, yeah.
I almost said Ichabus.
I love that game.
It reminds me of Guns of Icarus, except
a little more
less of a hierarchy, I guess there is.
Yeah. And then one last really quick just mention, rockets. You're a
saw that
rocket
game that looked
powered by rockets, shooting rockets at other rockets.
It reminds me of Narwhal, but more intense.
Yeah, very fast-paced, lots of fun. Okay, moving on. What else did I do? Oh, I did an interview with a couple of game developers from Spain. A huge shout out for their upcoming game, Skara: The Blade Remains. It is a up to 16 player multiplayer Street Fighter Mortal Kombat style game.
Oh god.
Go ahead.
Battle Royale, basically.
Yeah, Battle Royale, but you've got fatalities and all of that. So
it's like I can't remember the game. A friend of mine
think Mortal Kombat, but with 16 people in the room.
That's awesome.
Oh god.
And they're going early access soon. I did film the interview. It was a fairly short one because I had to conserve my battery. I only had 60 minutes of battery. So Caesar and Pablo flew out from Spain, and they're going to be on early access, and we're going to feature them on the show because this game is so cool.
People
this
good games.
Maybe this will be the game that'll get me back into fighting games.
Maybe
since after the 90s, I have not had a place in my heart for them.
That reminds me of Power Stone was like a 4-person
I don't even know what the hell that
fighting game on it was a Dreamcast game.
Oh, that's why.
Okay. Yeah, nobody else had a Dreamcast.
No one gives a shit about Dreamcast.
It's on PSP now, though.
So 8-Bit Studios out of Spain. Check them out. We'll have that as well. I was too ashamed to ask anybody that I interviewed your question because I asked Josh and Tech if they would send me a list of questions that they wanted me to ask various developers, and neither of them did. But as we were kind of joking around last week before during the episode, Tech's question was, "How big is your penis?" And I came so close to asking so many developers, like, "Hey, my co-host wants me to ask."
Yeah, we'll get in. How big is your penis? Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, something else that's awesome coming up. Another developer group that I met. This is a husband and wife team out of Mexico. Bernardo and Eva. And they're making a Victorian-era romance suspense-type interactive comic.
Do they need voice acting?
Yeah, they might. I've got their card. I'll put you in cut with them.
Hey,
Voice acting.
get Josh and me on that.
There you go.
Metal Dragon Entertainment. This is their first project together. He does all of the coding and some of the artwork. She does some of the artwork and all of the writing. And no, really awesome couple. I probably spent about 45 minutes hanging out with them, just kind of talking. Their artwork is phenomenal, and I'm interested in this, and I know my wife is going to be interested in this. So yeah.
Did you? I mean, speaking of hanging out, by the way, did you actually? I mean, I know you talked with some people, but did you actually get to like, hey, you want to go do something? Like,
honestly, I didn't. I wasn't really feeling it Friday, and Saturday I was just so tired and sore that I had to go home.
Yeah, I just figured, I guess, because I saw you like met all these people, so.
Yeah, Friday I would probably be the night to do it next year. Get there, and the public's not really there, so it's just developers and panelists and press, and apparently there's a very big drinking scene amongst the indie crowd. Go figure. But
it's all brewers and hipsters. I mean, come on.
They're just washing their sorrows away as they're like starving artists.
It's funny you should mention that. No. So a couple of awesome people that I met. If you remember Indie 3, TJ Maximus, TJ Tron, one of the coordinators for it. I met him and got to shake his hand, take some pictures, all that fun stuff. Attended his panel on race in.
Okay.
Go ahead. What?
Well, I was going to ask a question, but you can finish first.
Okay. It's Let's Do Something About It, a discussion about race in game development, and I have the entire panel except for the Q&A section recorded because I ran out of battery.
My question is, by meet, did you actually like sit down and chat with him for like a little bit, or did you just say, hey, I'm Rev?
Well, I after the panel, I went up and I shook his hand and kind of talked to him for a few minutes. But he was being mobbed, and I'm not a big fan of crowds.
Right.
I also met Sean Alexander, relatively big name in the indie scene that I was less aware of. Really cool guy. He did a panel last year and then hosted the discussion about race and game development panel this year. I met Rami Ismail, and he had a fantastic, how to get your game out there type thing panel for game
advertising for indie devs, right?
Business basics for indie game developers. That's what it was. Really cool guy. He had a lot of really cool lines. I've got notes that were taken in Twitter, and really cool guy. Brad Hill, I mentioned. I met Maddie Bryce, and there were so many people. Anyways, moving right along, we have a couple of cool technologies to talk about for devs. Sprite Builder is a dev tool for 2D sprites. It's all open source, so check out spritebuilder.com if you need some help with that. And really cool guy there. And then there was Leap Motion was kind of VR, but not. It was a little dongle that you set in front of your computer facing you, and it does the IR scanning, much like the Kinect, and translates it directly, but it has nanometer fidelity. So you can go down to the level of I am picking a petal off of a flower, and it was really cool. They were actually presenting those two development groups because they're doing a Leap Motion Jam coming up sometime next year. And
that in and of itself, in terms of technology, is a lot bigger than I think a lot of people understand, because like, other than like mocap, like motion capture in the film industry, which has also had like extreme leaps, other than having a Kinect and the proper software on your computer to use, that sort of imaging on a computer was impossible without blowing $1,000 on a 6+ camera setup, plus the suits, plus the lights, plus the programs, making sure that the skeletons are set up. Like, this is a huge, like, amazing thing for not only just gamers, but I'm guessing filmmakers as well.
Not even just filmmakers. Like, as I was talking to him about it, it's really drawn interest in the medical community.
I can totally see that.
Nice to meet future billionaires.
Yes,
Exactly.
This is going to be the new thing. This is going to be the new webcam. It has to be.
Yep. Okay, moving on from that. That was kind of cool. Some games that we have previously featured on the show that were both present and I met the devs for. Do you remember back on episode 11 when we featured The Fall?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Over the Moon Games. John, I believe was his name, and his girlfriend Danielle. I was standing in line in the Nintendo tent because they've now ported it to the Wii U. And
I wonder how that works.
It was interesting. So they ported it. I'm standing in the Nintendo tent, and I'm looking over people's shoulders, and I'm taking some pictures, and I'm like, this game looks really familiar. The title sounds really familiar. And then Danielle comes up to me as I'm standing in line with my press badge and goes, "Hey, how's it going? Standing in line for this?" I was like, "Yeah, it seems really familiar. Are you one of the developers for it?" And she's like, "Well, I'm the PR and marketing. I'm the developer's girlfriend." And I was like, "Oh, pleasure to meet you. I'm Rev of Indie Game Riot. And can I get your card? Like this is a cool game. I would want to feature this." And she was like, "Cool." And she hands me her card, and I hand her one of mine, and she looks at the card and she goes, "I recognize that logo. Why do I recognize that logo?" So I pulled out my phone and I'm like browsing to the playlist. I'm like, the fall. Oh my god, we did it!
We already talked about it.
So yeah, that was really cool to meet them.
That's cool that they recognize this. I'm glad.
awesome.
I'm glad they enjoyed it.
And that it's a good logo.
Yeah, it's a memorable one.
Yeah.
Another one that I met, there was that little game that we featured called Shovel Knight. I met Ian of Yacht Club Games, and
Never heard of that game.
yeah, who ever heard of that? They were in the Nintendo tent as well because they had just finished and published their port for the 3DS.
Soon to be featured at the Seattle EMP Museum.
Yeah.
So it is. It's on 3DS, and I know one of our audience has already purchased it because they found out about it at IndieCade, and we're like, figured I don't want to play it on the keyboard anymore because that sucks. So they bought it for the 3DS, and it still is difficult.
Amazing.
I had some time just kind of standing there waiting while talking to the developer Ian, and I have a little bit of IndieCade, Indie Game Riot exclusive information.
Ooh.
I asked him what's next for Yacht Club Games.
Oh, really?
And he says, well, first we're going to finish out the DLC that we promised due to, crowdfunding and all that. He was like, cool. What's your next project that's not Shovel Knight? And he looks at me and he goes, well, we have a policy. Our next thing is going to be shit, so that we can get all of our horrible ideas and mechanics out of the way before we start our real next project, and I can't tell you about that. So whatever Yacht Club Games makes next is going to be absolutely crap and probably not going to be published, as
it's going to be another goat simulator.
Possibly.
It's many goats in puzzle.
The puzzle, yeah.
Puzzle edition.
The platformer. Oh, God. Could you imagine the platforming?
Oh, my God.
Oh, Lord.
A Surgeon Simulator platforming game.
Okay. And then there was last episode we talked about Never-Ending Nightmares.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And guess who was there in the Ouya tent? Matt from Infinitap Games was there, and I saw several people playing his game, and I was like, that game really looks familiar. Why does that game look familiar?
Again.
So, yeah, we...
Rev's Alzheimer's kicking in.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting old. So I spent some time talking with Matt, and he gave me my own press code for the game, and I've already installed it, and I'm too scared to play it. But I asked him about it, and really he flat out said, yeah, this game was based on my own personal experiences and from inside my mind. And
like I know it had to do with like a lot of like the issues he had inside of his head, but did he deal with like that sort of thing where he was like in this like kind of a coma?
Not really. That was done to bring about the emotional tension and just the draining nature of his experiences.
Okay. I was like, man, that's intense. I mean, it's intense anyway, but like, the fact that he came out of a coma, I got a game. You know what I mean?
He might have. I don't think that was what happened, but not based on our conversation. But yeah, I wouldn't mind having Matt on our show for an interview. Real quick, the awards, I'm going to go over them really fast. Developer choice, chosen by all the developers at IndieCade, was Close Your. It's a webcam-based game. Really cool, any webcam will suffice. And it looks at micro expressions, the blinks that you're making, and if you're smiling or your nostrils flare or something like that, and changes the experience of the game while you're playing it based on.
That is really cool.
Oh my god. I need that game and a webcam.
Yeah, I know. Close your... Oh, wait, no, I have 2 webcams.
I just keep imagining it like playing on like a Let's Play, so not only are you playing the game, but you're also like kind of talking to an audience and how the game is like going to react to you.
It's like, why is this...
expressing yourself to the audience,
Yeah. So that was a really cool experience. Really glad for those. I met all of their entire team. Only 2 of them had cards. So Zach and John, the lead designer and the designer of the team. And cool. Audience choice was a game called Sunder, and I feel really bad because I didn't get to see it. But the description for it. I saw a couple of... I've checked online and seen a little bit of it since, but I didn't get to see it in person. But basically, it's a... let me find the description that I had. I had it. Mm-hmm. It's a 2D cooperative puzzle action platformer. But your look is color separated, so each of you is wearing a different colored lens.
Oh my god.
That is what your world is.
Rev, would it work? Would that work for you?
I don't know.
Because I think it might. Because now, science behind this. If you're wearing a red lens, you only see blue because you don't see red. But because those light waves are still hitting your eyes, you probably still won't see the red.
I would have to test it. I'd be interested in testing it.
If the two colors are very drastically
it's
apart,
like a 3D anaglyph, like the cyan and red.
Yeah, those don't work on me. Okay.
Oh, but you are also colorblind, like super duper.
I'm a monochromat. Yeah.
He's super colorblind. That's like superhero colorblind.
We'd have to check. But it looks so cool.
Okay.
Josh, I'll send you a link to the.
A link. And what else did we have? Rapid fire games.
Actually, I really want to hear about this one.
Media choice was a little game called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. And just based on the title, the guy that was presenting the awards was like, I actually had to ask them beforehand to make sure there were going to be no explosions before we placed them where we did in the firehouse. But they were also in the firehouse, so if somebody did explode, everything was okay. Yeah. Got a chance to talk to the developers for this one, and it is a cooperative Oculus Rift game that uses only one Oculus.
What?
So you are a bomb disposal expert. You are disarming the bomb. But there is no, you have no foreknowledge about each bomb. And there's something like 65 different bombs. The person sitting next to you has a manual that has 65 different bombs in it and how to disarm them.
So you have to ask questions and...
Ask questions, hey, what do you see a serial number? If you do, it'll be on the lower left-hand side of blah. And how many wires do you see? Okay, cut the blue wire, whatever. It was really, really kind of an interesting concept.
That's kind of cool. It's like that trope in when the guy's trying to disarm a bomb, and there's the guy with that's like over the phone, like, okay, do you see the red wire?
Yes.
So I'll cut it. No, don't cut it. Cut the blue wire.
Yeah, that's
exactly. It was a lot of fun, and I asked him why he chose to go this particular route with it, and he said because playing with an Oculus Rift tends to be a very solo engagement, and he wanted to explore ways that you could expand that into cooperative play or even versus play.
That's really innovative. That's cool.
Yeah, that was basically it. So keeptalkinggame.com. Big shout out to them. Good job for Media Choice Award.
All you people, come on our show.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, what else do we have? Panels. There were a lot of panels. Unfortunately, they were all scheduled. You know, there's a panel here, and a panel here. Pick one. And there were two types. There were direct panels, and then there were the Game University panels. And there were 2 locations for each. So I missed all of the panels in the morning of Saturday. But I made it to the discussion about race and game development panel. That was very interesting. I'll have to get the video to Josh and Tech somehow. And don't have a whole lot to say on that one because, unfortunately, I wasn't taking notes. I was just recording. The next one that was pretty much the only one that I caught on Saturday. Sunday was the first one that I went to was Why Blank Matters. And that was held at the City Hall. That was where our friend Elizabeth from Indie 3, she wasn't able to attend, but she was able to send her presentation, and they played it. There were probably about 250 people in the courtroom, and social capital matters. Why diversity I can't remember the exact title, but Elizabeth's personal presentation, basically some of the key points to it is that game design allows for various underrepresented cultures to have an outlet to be listened to by the greater world, and
the blank being the culture of choice.
Yeah, and being able to design a game that represents you as one of those cultures is...
We talked about a game like that a few weeks ago, the sort of northern native...
We didn't actually go into it, but there's a couple of games...
It's called Never Alone.
Never Alone is the big one, and then there was another one at Indie 3 called... that had a name that I can't pronounce right now.
Oh, yeah.
Never Alone was actually at IndieCade.
Yeah,
awesome.
Never Alone's like the big one coming out, but that's about the Inuit. Elizabeth is Native American. Right. I forget what the name is.
Was that on the Indie 3 episode?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's where I know it from.
Yep. Okay, so that was that one. Then there was Richard the Martian. Not really. His when they announced him, it sounded like Richard the Martian, but his name is Richard LaMarchand. And his little presentation was why indie crunch matters. The important takeaway is game development crunch is counterproductive to all development, and you should learn how to schedule things correctly. Damn it.
Yes, that is true for everything.
It's just like for studying and everything.
That falls into what I call the 5 Ps, which are actually the 6 Ps of success, which are proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yep.
And you should use that in every facet of your life, and you'll become a better person.
And piss before you start.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, we've got so much to cover still.
I know. This is a big episode.
Josh is like, no, hurry up, cut it along. We've got.
No, you don't even know. Like, I'm just looking at like all the so much editing, so many links.
That's okay.
I'm going to skip some of the rest of that panel. There was some really good stuff in there, and I'll share my notes online at some point.
So Rev, you would say that you had a riot at IndieCade.
I did. There was a huge riot. Starting the riot.
And finally, we get to starting the riot after a freaking tremendously long indie news injection, but it was awesome. Yeah,
it indicated all over the indie news,
all over the place. And high five, Rev, for doing that. Thank you, sir.
God, my voice hurts.
And now for the 3, I don't know if you would say top 3,
super
but
feature.
Awesome,
super feature.
like heavy featured games. First of all, starting the riot, the game that we are featuring this week is Ether 1, or as Tech likes to say, Ether 1. Or what did you say before? Either one?
Yeah,
Ether.
I was like, are they spelling either wrong?
Yeah.
Like, it's a typo.
Basically, if you guys remember, I think, what was it? It was episode 3? I think episode 2 or 3, that we talked about a game called The Old City. This game reminds me a lot of that, a lot about that, and even in the way it's described. Basically, it's a first-person adventure that deals with the fragility of the human mind. This is what they say on their website.
Specifically from the developer's mouth, specifically Alzheimer's and dementia.
Okay. And there's 2 paths, and this also reminds me of The Old City, which is, other than just the look of it and the fact that it's first-person experience, I guess you would call it. There's 2 paths that you can choose from, so it's not just linear. And there's no puzzles in one of those paths, and you can just let it just kind of go at your own pace, and you're just experiencing the game. Or you can take the other path, which there's complex puzzles. You're trying to restore the history. Basically, you're trying to restore the mind of the person that you're playing as, I guess you would say.
Yeah, that's the easiest way of putting it.
So, and help. Basically, you're helping the validation of their life. So you can either, ignorantly, and I'm using the word ignorant correctly here, not in the other way. Ignorantly follow the, you fall into the depths of Alzheimer's, I would guess, and you're just kind of like blissfully, unaware. Is that what I'm getting at here?
See, and here's where my personal experience with it diverges a little bit. I don't know. When I was talking with the developer, and when I was playing with, I was playing as the person whose job it is to reconstruct the memories of the person. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking with Pete, the designer, and so, it was the other path. I'm not sure, but on the one path, you're reliving the world from their memories and trying to fill in the gaps. And
that's the puzzle path, right?
Yeah, that's the puzzle path. You're filling in the gaps of, what was reality, what wasn't, and separating those out. It was a really, really cool concept. And again, this was an ongoing theme that I got from the vast majority of developers that I talked to when their games had some kind of emotional content to it. And that was that, this is something that affected them either personally or relationshiply. That's not even a word. Via relationship. That, they felt very strongly about and wanted to try and bring that experience to other people's, into other people's lives. The entire team, according to Pete, the entire team has family members that either suffered from dementia or Alzheimer's, and that's kind of what brought them all into the project together.
So, and also just some information on it. White Paper Games is the dev. Available on Steam, GOG.com, Humble Store. It's also, I believe, if it's not yet, it's going to be available for virtual reality.
I didn't talk to him about that. I don't know.
I'm seeing on their website there's mention of it being in VR, which would be really cool, like VR support for Oculus or something. Especially in that first-person immersive experience we're talking about.
Yeah.
You can purchase it for the basic edition, which is the game, for $20, or you can buy the deluxe edition for $10 more, which will also get you the game script and comic. And there's also a soundtrack available. There you go.
It's really like
really good scores, by the way.
Yeah, and this game, like, even in the trailers and stuff, it gives you this world that feels a little bit like disjointed. Mm-hmm. And like putting the pieces together and experiencing this, like the emotion that you do get, especially knowing that like the gravity of situation that people affected by these things go through, like it really draws you in and just 1-2 punches you into this like amazing both setting and trajectory of the game.
So, any other information I missed, Rev, about?
It's only available for Windows at the moment.
It's by White Paper Games.
Yep, we covered that.
Yeah. Thank you, Tech, for that redundancy.
There's no combat in this one. It is
Peaceful.
the experience adventure puzzle without combat. So
who was it that it's like one of your friends, I think, was like really.
It's actually Sorsha in the stream.
Sorsha. Oh yeah, you really like the non-combat stuff, right? Non-violence. Yeah. Cool. I think it's a really cool experience, and again, we talk about games all the time that dive into these experiences that you otherwise can't
experience
yourself. Yeah. And again, another really good example of how games are just making society,
creating the terrain for deeper meaning
and making society a better place, contrary to certain conservatives' beliefs. And actually some liberals as well.
We went political all of a sudden.
Well, not even political, just
well, games are political.
Just close-minded assholes.
Now let's get into the deep, dark underground of stuff that's coming out new.
The dirty, nasty shops.
You mean, wait, what? Anyway, you know what we should do?
What?
We should take the Metro line over to the Peep Show.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, we have a game that I destroyed Rev in. But maybe not for the same reasons that normal friends destroy each other in games. This game is called Mini Metro, and if you live in a relatively metropolitan area or a metro area like DC or New York or LA, as soon as this game starts up and you start playing, you will know exactly what this is. This is a metro management game in the simplest, easiest to understand form, as long as you are not colorblind, like Rev.
Well, they have, just to point out.
They have a colorblind mode.
They do have a colorblind mode.
That does not help Rev.
Really?
No.
I'm a monochromat.
Oh, is that what you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, the game consists, you start out with a few shapes, and you have specific rail lines, and you connect the shapes to the rail lines, and you have so many bridges, and you have so many trains available. And then slowly you start to zoom out. And I noticed this, it does this seamlessly. It starts to zoom out, everything gets smaller, and they start adding new stations up that you have to connect. And you have to connect them because there are people waiting to get on the train to go to different shapes. So as the game progresses, you get more rail lines, more connections, and so you have to manage the rail lines so that if someone wants to get on the red line, they can access all the shapes that they can access. And more shapes are added, and more passengers show up, and it slowly gets harder and more complicated. And then you have limitations on the direction that your rail lines can go, and they can't intersect too much, and it just becomes this huge cluster of what am I doing. And I only got maybe 11% through the first level.
Now, this game, first of all, if you're going to play this game, you better be able to read like subway maps. That's really what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is.
Yeah, but now when I was playing this game, when I first played it, I was just like putting lines wherever. I didn't really because it doesn't hold your hand. Because I played it the first time I played the demo, and then we got the press keys. But I played the demo, and it doesn't hold your hand at all in the demo. So you're like,
it doesn't.
You're like, okay.
It tells you how to like do stuff.
Right.
And it teaches you sort of like in a very visual way. Like there isn't any reading that you need to do. Like kids could play this game. It's a really accessible game as long as you aren't like Rev and can't see color.
It's still accessible to me. Like I just have to pay a lot more attention to it. I can't rely on the color.
If you click on a line and you hold it, it'll actually highlight that line and all the shapes that it connects.
I did see in their I guess it's a devlog that they are working on a better colorblind
differential.
Yeah, they're working on that. I mean,
but it makes sense that they went the direction they did, because it does feel like I grew up in the DC area. I was on the Metro my whole life, and as soon as I saw this and as soon as I was connecting stuff and I saw stations, I was like, that's awesome. The one thing that I wish they would implement in this game is and this is part of the difficulty of the game, which took me a little bit to understand, because I have this mentality of, oh, well, I can take the orange line to this station and then transfer trains to this train so I can get to that destination. That's just the fastest way to do it. Whereas in this case, it's just you take the line and the line takes you where you need to go. And if they implemented something like that, it would probably make the game a little bit easier than people would want it, or they might want it. But that was a feature that sort of like was a disconnect for me, having been a part of a metropolitan area.
Did you... Now, when you played it, though, because you played it far longer than me and Rev, I think.
Yeah,
I only got up to like 100 passengers. You said you got up to like
about
800.
800, yeah.
Now, is there some sort of strategy that you had, or did you just go willy-nilly?
See, the thing with it is that you start out with a strategy, and the more you play, the more you sort of understand how things work. It's like, okay, I only really want to start out with one line, so when more things open up, I can have that other line to go. But then you have to realize that you have to connect certain shapes with certain stations, and because some shapes are more rare than others, like then you get a star and a plus.
Right.
And if only the yellow line and the blue line are going to the pluses and the stars, then any station that isn't connected to those stations in the line, if someone wants to go to a star, they aren't connected to that platform and they can't go there.
Right.
So it starts out like, oh, I'm extending this line, I'm extending this, like, okay, I have ends over here. Oh crap, I do something over here, and then all of a sudden it's all dicked up, and you're like, I need to try and salvage this as much as I can, and
that means you have to delete a line and then go back, and you run out of rails.
There's a couple times too where you're like anxious because like it'll start filling up the station. With the people that want to go, and it'll like start like when it gets filled up, the little symbols will start bouncing, and you're like, oh god, come on, train, go.
And
I was actually experiencing much the same. What's the word I'm looking for?
Anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety.
After playing it for a little bit, I that sort of like fell out, and I was sort of like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I can recognize the differences and things and what to look for, and like the management side of your head kicks in, but it kicks in a little late.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's. Sorry, go ahead.
There you go.
No, I was going to say, like, for me, the anxiety came about, like, I don't do public transit very well. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of crowds of people. And I get very anxious on subways or trolleys, whatnot. And I was experiencing that same anxiety while playing this game.
For such a simple,
realistic
shapes and lines game, that currently in the version that I played did not have sound.
They don't have sound in any of it yet.
It is early access.
Yeah.
True. They did a very good job of actually making you feel like this is public transit, and it's just shapes. Like and that's hard to do.
I found myself thinking in the crowded stations. I found myself thinking, man, those people must be pissed right now because they're like just crowded there and they're waiting for the train.
And I recommend just sort of closing thoughts on this. Definitely play in night mode. Because, like, I just like playing, like, darker games, like looking at white screens.
I didn't even think of that.
There is a night mode.
Oh, that's cool.
So the developer is...
Dinosaur Polo Club.
That's it. Yeah. So definitely check it out. You can play a demo on their website.
$7.
$7
for the Steam Early Access.
There you go, man.
And let me tell you, there are a lot of different maps and 2 different game modes that you can play.
Also, Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu.
Linux.
There you go. It says Ubuntu or Ubuntu. I don't know what the hell that is. I'm technologically not set.
Yeah. Well, just like Linux, the next segment is free.
Nothing good can come of this. It's free, but nothing good can come of this. So that's actually the name of the free fun game this week. It's by Cartwheel Games. I was actually playing it. They were using NES controllers, but it can be designed. It can be used with keyboard and mouse. Keyboard and controller. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Very rapid iteration. It's a very straightforward game. It is a black room. You're in a room and there's a hole in the ceiling and you're with somebody and a gun is in the middle between the two of you. And you run forward and whichever one of you gets the gun can then shoot the gun, but you only get one bullet. And if you miss, the other person can punch you and take the gun, but they don't have a bullet, so a bullet will fall out of the ceiling and then you can punch each other or throw the gun at each other to stun them and grab it, and the whole goal is to just kill the other person really quick. I played probably 15 rounds of this with somebody and kicked them in the shin because they kept stun locking me, and then like I'd grab the bullet and they'd throw the gun into my face, and so the bullet bounces out and the gun would bounce back to them so they'd have it, and then like I'd grab the bullet and like it was really rapid iteration, very simple, fun game to play. And Cartwheel Games, huge shout out to you guys for being at IndieCade and having an awesome game. Any
For
questions
free.
on?
Yeah, free.
Can we do this in real life?
Yes. Let me send you a couple of links. But by the way, this was something I didn't mention. It is a local multiplayer only.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. I want to play with you guys. This is the one time I'm like, local multiplayer, son of a bitch.
Yeah. And Crawl, but
Oh, well, Crawl.
Last episode.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Crawl was at IndieCade as well, but I figured,
Yeah,
We
we've
talked
already
about them
talked
already.
about it.
They got their limelight, even though they deserve
Yeah,
more.
so it's $0.00 on itch.io. Link in the description. Go check it out. Cartwheel Games, making fun out of a few pixels.
You know what else
So fun.
is fun out of a few pixels? I sound
IndieCade.
drunk as shit. I don't even know why. But that's not why. That's not
Did
what
you
I'm
get
talking about.
indicated?
I got indicated a lot.
You know what else got indicated? The end of the show.
That's what I'm trying to get to, you bastard. This is the end of the show. For those of you who are listening live, we have music in the background in our edited version. This week's music is by Waterflame. You can find a link in the description. Go tell him how much the music is awesome and say Indie Game Riot sent you. Those of you listening, by the way, you can find us on Wait, fuck. I don't even know what's happening right now. YouTube.com/JoshNyagGaming. And for those of you who are listening to the recorded version, we do live shows on Fridays around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is on hitbox.tv/JoshNya. Now, before I go into the rest of the ways to contact us, first of all, if you are an indie dev, indie video game musician, any kind of indie video game anything, or if you know someone... Yeah, if you know someone who is, please contact us when I give you the rest of the information, because we want to feature your stuff. And if we can fit it in or anything like that, we will do it. We have an IndieGoGo currently. Please, please help us if you can. You can either share the link, donate $1 or more. All that financial funding will go... I'm so out of it right now. We'll go towards the show 100%. Number one priority is a website, and otherwise than that, we're talking about graphics and some upgraded equipment to make the show better. And now to contact us, the other ways to contact us, you can also contact us on Twitter.com. Our handle is @IGR Podcast, Facebook.com/IGR Podcast. You can find us on Reddit. It's reddit.com/r/Indie Game Riot. And our email for the time being is JoshNyagGaming@gmail.com.
Nope. We published it on the card. It's IndieGameRiot@gmail.com.
JoshNyagGaming@gmail.com.
Either one
Because
works.
once we get a website, we'll have an official email that is not a Gmail account.
At IndieGameRiot.com.
We'll see. We'll figure it out. Keep it tuned. This has been a crazy long show. I don't know what's wrong with my head.
You got indicated.
I got indicated all over the place in my brain. And do you have anything else to say, gentlemen?
Other than IndieCade.
IndieCade.
IndieCade, gentlemen.
IndieCade.
IndieCade.
IndieCade. Anyway. IndieCade. IndieCade.
I totally just indicated all over her IndieCade.
God, I indicated that so much.
Yeah, again, I got excited. I mean, her IndieCade was all indicating up in my IndieCade, so.
Did you indicate it?
I totally indicated. like for 3 hours, like 4 positions, like. Indicate.
Now that is indicating.
That just gave me such an IndieCade.
I wonder how long this joke is gonna like be funny.
Long is we're gonna keep it going along past that.
I'm running on about 2 hours of sleep, so the IndieCade is going to IndieCade for a while. Source just looking at me right now, going, "Oh fuck!" And I'm spending the night here tonight.
Keep your IndieCade tight.
All right. Hey, loose lips sink IndieCade.
It hurts my IndieCade.